Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Corcoran, and this is the not ethics here. Let me pull up the right one. Maybe I closed it out. Give me just a second. I'll pull it up. I'm not going to start the recording over here. There we are. All right. So no, this is not ethics. This is the Linux Unix systems here. All right, so just a little heads up before we get into this. I am not I don't have my doctor's degree here, so I'm technically not a professor. I'm definitely not Dr. Corcoran or anything. For those that you can call me Mr. Corcoran, but for those of you that don't want to call me Mr. Corcoran, I need to let you know there is another title that I go by, and that is Lord Corcoran. So I own a piece of land in Scotland here. It's actually a very, very small plot of land, big enough to put a tree on right here. But hey, I am a landowner, so that gets me the title of Lord here. And if this isn't legitimate enough right here, my wife even got a painting commissioned in my honor right here. And this is actually ridiculous. This is a huge painting, canvas painting of me and this outfit right here. Of course, it's not really me in the outfit. It's just not my head put on someone else's body there, but kind of funny. And then if that isn't legitimate enough right here, I even have my own seal of approval right here, the Lord Corcoran seal of approval. And if you are lucky enough this semester and you impress me, you may actually get the Lord Corcoran seal of approval on some of your homework assignments. But all joking aside, again, this is the Linux class here. And kind of today's goals right here, or I guess the semester's goal is going to be that we're going to finish the semester with an understanding of Linux and the fundamental skills needed to become productive in a technical role using Linux. So in a nutshell, we're going to learn how to use Linux, how to actually get in there and know enough commands to be able to kind of get around within Linux, because we're not going to be using Linux from a GUI perspective. Oftentimes when you use this kind of in a real world setting, you're going to be connecting to some remote server. Often that's going to be an SSH connection where you're just going to be given like a black screen with text, which is kind of a large barrier to entry right there. Not many people are going to know what to do because it doesn't tell you what to do at all. You kind of just need to know the commands to be able to navigate that system. And then, of course, once we get those fundamentals out of the way, we'll be covering the bash programming language, the awk programming language. When we get a grasp there, we'll then expand that to writing scripts. So that way we can kind of work on some larger coding projects there and build those skills. So for today, we're going to be kind of going over the syllabus, and then we're going to discuss our plan for how we're actually going to be installing Unix and Linux and using it throughout the semester. And that is actually going to require some seating arrangement for us, and we'll explain that in more detail when we get to the end. All right, so moving to our syllabus here. So if you get on Blackboard, you should be able to see the syllabus link. I believe that's going to be the only thing that y'all really have access to at this point. And so I'm just going to go ahead and open that up here. And basic information first here. Again, Jacob Corcoran. My office is room 301 right there. Here's my email, jcorcoran@uca.edu. And then I have my phone number, but as you can see, email is my preferred method of contact. I'm going to get back with you a lot quicker. Oftentimes I'm not always in my office, and then I'm really bad about never checking voicemails. So it's not really bad. I just don't do it. So make sure you email me and I'll get back to you a lot quicker. Of course, I need to update that class schedule right here. I forgot to do that. This is going to be a Tuesday, Thursday. I'll get that corrected and re-uploaded here. But it is 10:50 to 12:05. Yes, I believe that is a correct time there. I just didn't get that done. And then it's going to be in rooms 338 here. My office hours, that is going to be Monday and Wednesday here, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. If that does not work for you, that's no big deal. You just go ahead and just send me an email and make an appointment, and we'll figure out a time to meet. All right, The textbook, it is a practical guide to Linux commands, editors, and shell programming. That is the fourth edition. It is optional. You do not have to have that book to pass this class. The slides and Google is enough to pass this class. So if you want to save a little money, you do not have to get it. Now, if you are someone that plans like to have a future with Linux, I would highly suggest you getting that book. It is a very easy read for a textbook, and it's often one of the textbooks that I come back to if I can't remember something. So a very good book. I highly recommend you actually getting that book, but you don't have to. Let's see. So we have a mix of graduate and 4+1 students in here as well. So just note that if you are one of those, there's going to be extra work every now and then. Oftentimes that will be attached to the current assignment and everybody will get the same sheet. There will just be some additional requirements that may be labeled 5,300 or 6,300, or maybe it'll say 4,000, look, 4,000 level only, for the undergrad students there. So just make sure that you do pay attention to that. And when you get to those, make sure you read the thing in completely, because some of it may alter the program or the assignment, or the actual, say it this way, the exercise that you're currently working on. It may alter that. So you can definitely do the exercise, but then I may change some things about that exercise later down in the assignment there. So you could skip a few steps by actually reading the entire thing and then seeing, okay, I might could skip something in the 4,000 level section because it's a little altered in the 5,000 version. So I do use quizzes. These are kind of pop quizzes. You never know when they're going to be, but they're very, very small. They're only about 5 questions each, and I think they're 2 points, so possible 10 points there total. That kind of just makes sure that you're staying on top of your reading there and keeping caught up with the class. Labs. So labs, they're generally going to apply to whatever we covered on the current lecture that day. They will be due, I think, within 24 hours after the lecture has been done. So they're just kind of highly focused. The majority of those are, especially when we get into scripting, it's going to be like you copying the code and kind of seeing what the code does. Now, that's a general rule of thumb, because there are going to be a couple in there that maybe require some actual thought instead of copying stuff. But the labs are the bread and butter when it comes to Linux. For those that have never really used Linux, it's a lot different than using Windows. And that's kind of a shock to a lot of people there. So the way you learn Linux is just by doing. It's just practice, practice, practice. So you do not want to ignore these labs. That's going to be where you're truly learning it. And then I also would encourage you not to just do the labs as is, but to get in around there and play with the code that I gave you. Maybe see if you can break the code a little bit, so you can kind of understand what things are doing. So don't overlook these right here. Now, the assignments, those are going to be kind of over several lectures, more of a comprehensive approach. So we're going to take several things that we learn throughout a few of those lectures, and then we're going to see if you can actually apply those, to some type of programming assignment there. The exams, there's going to be 3 exams in this class. The first 2 are pretty normal exams. I think they're 15% each. The final exam in here, that one is a little bit different. It's a take-home one, so it's more open. You can actually, it's open internet, open book, everything. I'm kind of giving you some stuff to do, and then you'll complete that on your own system and kind of give me the answers. So it's only worth 10% of your grade, as you can pretty much grade your own work as you go along on that. Then we have the kind of the project in here, and this is what the whole class kind of, this is the big comprehensive project. We kind of have to get through everything to be able to do this project. So I release it oftentimes at the 4, sometimes even 5 week mark. It just depends on kind of where we get to in the class, because we have to cover everything in this class as far as coding goes in order for me to release that. So you'll have all the knowledge to complete it. And then once we have that, we then switch gears to like systems administration. So kind of learning how to install software and create users and different things on the Linux system. So that's kind of the filler, because our true goal is you want to be able to write scripts in this class. Here's a breakdown of the percentages. So quizzes, 4%, attendance, which is required in this, it's 3% of your grade. The assignments, that's a big chunk. It's 30% right there. Then your labs, 10%, your semester project, 13%. And then I told you those first two exams, they're 15% each for a total of 30. And then that final exam is 10% right there. Here's your link for the academic calendar so you can get any dates that you need. When it comes to the attendance, attendance is mandatory. The only exceptions to it is school-related events, medical, and then family emergencies there. So when it comes to this stuff, I understand life happens there. So the important thing is you communicate to me. So especially if you can communicate to me before it happens, I understand if an emergency happens and you can't show up that day, and we'll deal with that as it comes. But oftentimes, if you can let me know ahead of time, we will work something out, get you maybe some extended time on an assignment or whatever, or even an exam if needed. Of course, the exams are kind of like I don't want to change those dates. It kind of complicates things. So if we can work it out, I'm going to try to get everybody taking the exam at the same time. But I am flexible. The important thing is communicate with me on those things. Of course, if you miss something, it's your responsibility to find that out. And that does not mean email the professor and ask me what I missed. That means you can contact other students, find out what you missed. Of course, all this is on Blackboard, so you can also, get on Blackboard and see anything that you missed there. Labs, assignments, and project policy. So again, all the due dates that are going to be posted on Blackboard. One of the important things to understand is this class, it never goes the way I structure it. Oftentimes, I might have to slow down a little bit because especially in the beginning stages, I can't leave people behind because this class just builds, builds, and builds. And if somebody doesn't get the fundamentals, now I can only do that within, I can't do it too much. I can't slow down too much, obviously. So, but I do try to slow down if I see the class is struggling a little bit and at first, because if you don't get those fundamentals, it gets really, really bad. So the way I structure this is I put everything in a module, and then I'll release that module the day we have a lecture. And of course, the lecture material will be in the module in Blackboard. And if there's any homework on that, it'll be posted within that module. So you need to get in the habit of, okay, we just had a lecture today. I need to get in the module and then see if there is any assignments that are associated with that module. So if you miss a class, all you got to do is just get into the module, see if there's any homework that you missed, and then check those due dates on there. All submissions must be submitted through Blackboard. I don't want you submitting things through email. We archive all of this at the end of the semester as far as Blackboard goes, so all of your homework is all in Blackboard for me. And if you email me something, that's not going to be in that archive. So I require that all submissions, in order for me to grade them, must go through Blackboard unless there's some, a special circumstance where I actually request it myself, but that will be the only case in which I accept it, would be if I actually requested it through email. Let's see, labs, they are due within 24 hours after they are assigned. Assignments, anywhere between 3 and 7 days, depending on the difficulty of the assignment there. Of course, there is no group work in this class. I don't have anything set up for group work right now. So make sure on your assignments and your projects, you do not work on these together, because if your code is identical to one another, then you're gonna be meeting with me in my office. And of course, that would be considered cheating. And then you would get a 0 on that assignment. And it can be all the way as bad as an F for the entire semester on that. So, please don't be copying and cheating off of one another, and don't be working in groups because you never know, somebody will wind up copying your code from you, and then you're going to be in my office. Let's see, late work policies. So quizzes, those are pop quizzes. If you miss that, there is no makeup for those. That's kind of just, if you're there and that's kind of the benefit of being there, you get the points for completing those quizzes. When it comes to assignments, I have a 24-hour grace period after the due date. Within that period, you can submit it late and you will get 80% of whatever you make on that. After that 24-hour grace period has expired, then you will not be able to submit, or if you do, I'm not going to be grading it. It will be a 0 after that time period. Of course, the exceptions to this is if you contact me before the actual due date and don't wait until, an hour before and decide, oh, I waited too long, and then send me an email. It needs to be within a reasonable time. Of course, it will have to be approved. It's a case by case basis on that. But if you do have something, then please let me know. I'm happy to extend something for you if you have a legitimate reason for that extension right there. And of course, all of those, I'd like them to be through email there so we can have a record of it. In other words, don't just catch me after class and be like, I need an extension. I will ask you to email me. General homework policy. This is an upper level course right here. So one of the things I'm going to require is when you actually need help on something, don't just send me your entire script in email and then be like, it doesn't work. I don't know why. Tell me why it doesn't work. I'm not going to sit there and go through this. It is an upper level class. You should have some understanding. Now, I am more than happy to help you with it. I just need some effort on your part. I need you to try to explain to me what you think is going wrong. It just, and maybe you don't know. I just need to see some type of effort on your part, that you just didn't copy this code off the internet and then pasted it and it didn't work. And then you just sent me, an email saying, hey, fix my program because I don't know what it's doing. I don't want to see that. And then also, I'm not going to pre-grade any of your homework assignment. So even if you have it working and you send me like, hey, this is working, but please let me know if there's anything I can do to kind of get a better grade on it or anything. I'm not going to be doing that. There's too many students. I can't pre-grade anything uh, for you there. Now, on how things are graded, so that is going to be on accuracy, basically on the readability of the output, whether that be through console output or it be through some type of text file that I'm going to be grading. So you will be graded on, the actual accuracy of the answer and even the formatting of the output. So you will have example formatting often in your assignments there. So you're going to be graded on how accurate you can reproduce that output there. Let's see. So exam policies, that's going to be your first two exams. That's going to be, in class, and it's going to be closed book. So you're not allowed to have any type of technology to help you out in any way with that. Let's see. You make sure that y'all go over the academic misconduct here. When it comes to this, is very important right here. If you have a concern about this class, I ask you to please contact me. But if you don't feel comfortable or if the issue is with me specifically, then feel free to go over my head and contact Dr. Chellaby, our department chair. What you are not to do is go over the department chair's head and go to like the dean or the vice president or the president. They do not want that. If it needs to be elevated, then Dr. Chellaby will elevate it and he will set you up a time to go and meet with the dean on that. But anyway, feel free to go over my head. Just please do not go over the department chair's head there. See, all of this, make sure y'all go over the academic integrity and just all this that I'm kind of skipping over. This is the generic stuff that's on every one of them. Make sure that y'all go through that. And lastly, we'll go over that building emergency plan, but just before we do, just kind of showing you how this is going to be structured. So you can see we kind of got the intro to Linux. We're building all our commands, and we're going to hit kind of scripting. And notice how this kind of bleeds over. So in the middle right here, that's when we kind of hit our first exam one. And then pay attention that we cover a whole lot of material. We are nearing the end of the semester at this point. So your exam two is not going to be really in the middle of the semester. It's going to be a little bit after that. And then, the last like maybe 4 weeks or so is where we'll be kind of hitting the system administration side there. So All right, building emergency plan. Let's cover this real fast. There we go. Okay, so here is the list of phone numbers right here. This is a good thing to maybe print off and put somewhere if y'all want. But here's kind of all the scenarios right here. So if we have an active shooter, of course, they say run to a safe location, call 911, try to hide if you can't get out of the building, turn your lights off or the things. And of course, it's kind of horrible, but in this case, it's fight for survival. So it's kind of do what you have to do there. And a bomb threat, of course, don't approach, if you see a bag or something, don't approach it. If you think there's something suspicious in it, you just call 911, let them know that something's there. Then you get off, you get as far away as you can from that. And of course, let anybody know around you there. If it's earthquake, of course, that's drop to the ground, take cover under anything that is sturdy and just kind of wait until the earthquake's over. And then we have our evacuation area, the emergency assembly area here. So if you take a look, the math and computer science building, this is where we're at right here. Of course, this is Bruce Street right here. This right here is the Burdick Hall. That's that IT building that kind of burnt, should have a fence around the front right there. So kind of in between the Burdick and Thompson Hall will be this green grassy area, and that is where we meet in emergencies. So if there is a fire, of course, we're going to pull the fire alarm. Then you're going to calmly evacuate out of the building. And then you will actually go to our emergency assembly area right here. Tornado, then they want you to try to move to the designated kind of safety zones that we have. Well, let's take a look. It will be in this full sheet right here. Scroll down to the bottom. We should find our areas here. Right there. So this is the first floor of our building, and you can kind of see all this green area right here that's been marked. That is the tornado shelter area right there. So it's kind of all that first floor area where here's the elevator right there and all the classrooms. And of course, we got our two exits right there. And then they tell you to stay out of kind of that big glassed in area right here. So then our third floor area right here, this is just kind of showing you where the exits are right here. So they tell you not to stay up here during any type of emergency. So here's our classroom, 338. So you can see we're right up against a stairwell here. So we should just be able to exit out of here and then go down the stairwell to that first floor and kind of get into that emergency area or just exit the building there. All right, I think we have covered everything here. We just got one last thing, that is the seating chart and Linux installed here. So what we will be doing the very next time that we meet, we'll be installing Linux. And the way we're going to do that is through WSL, which is the Windows subsystem for Linux. So Microsoft has now completely integrated Linux into Windows, which is really, really nice. You get a real actual kernel using the WSL2 version. So if you have a Windows machine, you may bring that laptop to class. Of course, you can use the laptops that are in the classroom as well. And then I'll also post a recording of how to install this. So if you want to have it in class, maybe you have a desktop or you don't want to bring your laptop, you can install it in class on that machine. And then I encourage everyone to also do this on their home computer. So that way, when you have homework, you don't have to come to the classroom to do your homework, that you can do it at home as well. So we will be installing that on our Windows machine. So that WSL kind of gives us the environment to set Windows up. And then we'll be using Ubuntu in this class. And Ubuntu is what is called a Debian-based system. We'll kind of learn about the different flavors of Linux a little bit later. But that is the flavor that we will be using. And the Debian-based systems, or at least the one that we use, because you can use any shell, but specifically we'll be using the Bash shell, which comes by default on the Ubuntu system. So if you have a Mac, you are more than welcome to use that as well. Just note there is going to be some slight differences that we'll kind of have to discuss through the semester. The first difference being that Mac uses the ZSH shell, You are able to change that if you want to do it, but it's kind of like it's allowed the scope of this class. I don't focus on Mac too much, just on Linux itself. But you don't have to. You can use the ZSH. When we get near the end of the semester and we switch over to systems administration side, then there will be that's when most of our troubles are going to show up, and we'll just kind of address it at that time period. I have some workarounds for you there, so it's not a problem. But all of the scripting and stuff in here you will be able to do with no problem on a Mac. There will just be some slight differences when it comes to like configuration files and their locations, and even the location of the user account you're using itself there. So just to understand what we're doing, we'll cover kind of a brief history of Linux at the beginning of the next class period, and then the rest of the class period will be installing Linux on our machines. Sometimes that goes smoothly. Sometimes it's a disaster. The last couple of semesters, it has gone pretty smooth. As a matter of fact, we've gotten it done like before even the class ended. They've kind of gotten better with that install process. So hopefully there won't be any problems. And I've only had one semester where a student had a problem that we couldn't get fixed and they were unable to use their personal computer. So I feel like odds are more than likely you will be able to get your computer up and running no problem. The only requirements is it must be running Windows 11. So if you're running Windows 10, I ask that you just use one of these school computers there. All right. If you want to get ahead on reading in the book right here, chapters 1 and chapter 2 is kind of where we're heading next right there. So I think that's all that I had to cover here. So I will see y'all Tuesday. Y'all have a good weekend.